Hey folks, welcome to Grab a Stack of Rock and 50 Years of Iron Maiden special bonus episode on the Run For Your Lives set list. This is the second time that Harrison and I have discussed the Run For Your Lives set list. The first time was a special bonus episode, kind of wish listy, kind of speculating on what they would play. And now we have an actual set list. How are you doing, Harrison?
I'm doing well. Just to talk a little bit generally about the set list, I feel like Maiden might have overpromised and under-delivered a bit, but I'm speaking as a super fan with all the live albums. I can tell you, like, when the last time every song was played. So I'm just like, well, we got Mariner this century. I mean, surely that's enough, sort of thing. Come on, give us something more interesting. But I know there were people freaking out over Ancient Mariner being back in the set, and I have nothing but praise for what happened on the stage. The lads are doing great out there. They're on fire. Bruce is sounding great for his age. And my overall feelings on the set list is basically, and the show is like, they could have done more, but what we got was pretty damn good. Like, I would have loved if they took it one step further, but I'm not unhappy with what happened out there.
Right. So to go back for a moment to our wish list that we did a few months ago, they didn't play Judas Be My Guide. That wasn't the song that they've never played before. More on that. And, they didn't play anything from No Prayer. So it wasn't every album from 1980 to Fear of the Dark like we anticipated. That's what we refer to when we say overpromised and underdelivered. We read that it was going to be everything. Every album represented between 80 and 92. And we also thought we read something about we're going to play a song that's never been played live before. And that's not true.
Yes, I actually went and looked back up the quote. What Bruce says is, we're going to be doing things, or he actually said, we're going to be doing stuff that we've never done before. And it's going to be a set list for the ages. So the natural inference there is, okay, they're going to play something they haven't played before. But looking back, stuff we've never done before could refer to using screens instead of backdrops, or it could refer to playing Mariner and Seventh Son, spoiler alert, in the same set list. So the natural assumption was they'd be doing a song live, but strictly speaking, he never said they would. That's just everyone's.
Yeah, you're right. That was one of those things that was open to interpretation, and we interpreted it hopefully, but not unjustifiably, that it would be a song. I agree with you. I think it's the big screens, and I think it's playing those two epics in the set at the same time. Speaking of which, why don't we dive through the set one by one? Let's start with the track one set opener, which I think one of us might have picked this on our wish list, The Ides of March.
Well, yes, I actually called The Ides of March being the taped opener that they'd have over. But the funny thing is, we both predicted a Di'Anno song would follow this as the opener, but neither of us got it right.
I'm going to speculate, and there's no way to know for sure, but I think if Paul hadn't died, we wouldn't have seen such a Paul heavy set. But that's just speculation on my part.
Well, it's interesting, even though it is a Paul heavy opener, that we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that 1-2 punch of 1-2-3 punch of Ides of March, Murders in the Rue Morgue, Wrathchild is exactly how they opened the Number of the Beast tour when Bruce first joined.
And for more on that, you can check out our episode on Beast over Hammersmith. But yeah, what an opening 1-2-3 punch. Ides of March, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a taped intro this time?
I believe it was, because the taped intro to Murders in the Rue Morgue, it was also taped, yeah.
Okay.
They've only, as far as I know, they've only played the Ides of March live once, way back in the 80s.
So this is also not a song that they've never played live. But right into Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is kind of an obscurity, relatively speaking. We've talked about that
I'd say
before.
it's probably the most obscure track on there that they play.
Yeah. And then into Wrathchild. A brilliant 1-2-3 punch there. Very happy with that opener.
Yeah. Bit of echo. Bruce uses some echo, as in like sort of machine generated echo on the screen for the bridge bass and solo. Basically, I didn't think that was necessary. Like, he is getting old. His screams are starting to Halfordify a little, but they're still good. By Halfordify,
Harrison just coined a new adjective there, Halfordify, or is that a verb?
Yeah. Well, Good question. God damn, you're testing my
We'll
knowledge
we'll
there.
save that. We'll save that for the comments. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, because Halford's a few years in advance of Bruce Dickinson, so you can sort of see.
Yeah, we understand that. But moving on, two more fucking incredible tracks. Pardon, that might have been the first F-bomb on 50 Years of Iron Maiden. I'm not sure. We go from Wrathchild into Killers. Oh my god, and then into Phantom of the Opera. Like that's a mini
Killers, we
set.
get Killers, we get this cool walk on Eddie, and in the past they've used robots as the walk on Eddie, particularly in the since the reunion era. I know the Final Frontier Eddie was a robot, the Cyborg Eddie's always been a robot, but this was actually a guy in a suit on stilts for Killers Eddie. You can tell just in the way he moves really quickly, too fast for a robot, and particularly the knee joints are higher up than you'd expect them to be.
Right.
But it was cool to see, the guy that we've got behind us there, call them Killers Eddie, but he's really the Run for Your Lives Eddie.
Right. Yeah, because the Killers Eddie didn't have the lobotomy and the bolt. But yeah, holy crap! Like to get Killers and Wrathchild, my two favorite songs from that album, in the same set, and then Phantom of the Opera 2, which is kind of our first epic of the set. Wow. You could, to use an analogy, Queensryche did a tour in 2000 where they had suites, and each suite represented different eras of the band. So this would be, in my mind, the Di'Anno suite of the set.
And much like the Legacy of the Beast tour, where they had war, religion, when they revamped it, they had Japan sort of thing for Senjutsu.
Right, except this is more chronologically based in theme. And kudos to Maiden. They absolutely nailed this opening quintet of tracks, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
My favorite part of Phantom of the Opera is during one of Davies' solos. He has a lot of solos on the song, but you can hear these rising guitar harmonies really clearly that don't come across as much on the album cut.
And that's because we've got three guys now.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on. A Stone Cold classic with The Number of the Beast, relatively early in the set. They could have saved it for the end, but out of the way, Number of the Beast. We both predicted that song would be played, I believe.
I knew it was going to be played, but my set list, my prediction was incredibly wish listy. I left off stuff like Run to the Hills and Number of the Beast simply because I wanted to talk about what I wanted to hear, not what I expected to hear. But yeah, they couldn't not play The Number of the Beast.
I'm surprised by the following track, Clairvoyant.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing. The three singles from that album sort of rotate through. Last tour we had "Can I Play with Madness." The tour before that we had "The Evil That Men Do." So we'll probably do the Clairvoyant. And something really cool with now that they've gone away from backdrops to screens. I'm sort of here and there on the screens. I like them for some things, dislike them for other things. The animated backdrop we have for the Clairvoyant, it's based on the Clairvoyant artwork, the poster artwork with Eddie at the crystal ball. And you can actually see it's a lot more obvious now because it moves. The crystal ball actually has an eyeball in it that sort of darts around every now and then. It's really cool.
Like the Eye of Sauron. That's cool. And then they follow it with a bunch of tracks from Power Slave. We've seen a funny meme where it shows Power Slave way up top, and then here's Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying drowning at the bottom. So here's the Power
You'd also
Slave.
have Peace of Mind sort of with Fear of the Dark there. Interestingly enough, they only played one song from Peace of Mind on this tour, which I don't think anyone could have predicted.
Yeah, we didn't. Power Slave, 2 Minutes to Midnight, and Rime of the Ancient Mariner as the next suite of tracks from that album. For me to get Power Slave, yeah, absolutely. I wanted
the return of the Bird Mask as well.
Yes, that's right, the return of the Bird Mask. And
in fact, in 2 Minutes to Midnight, Bruce also returns. Bruce's costumes are also on point. I have no complaints about that for the stage show. He's actually returned to the Somewhere Back in Time get-up he had with the beanie and the sort of camo jacket vest.
Yeah, he's got some great looks in this show too.
And we're seeing a few stage props actually come back out of retirement, which is unusual for Maiden.
Well, I was going to ask you, is this the first time that you know of that the bird mask has been paired with the short hair Bruce?
No, he wore the bird mask on Somewhere Back in Time back in 2008.
Okay. All right, so Power Slave. We've talked about this track numerous times on the show. We all know it's one of my favorites. It's a it's a fantastic track for the live set. 2 Minutes to Midnight, can't complain there. I love the track. I love the riff. And Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I was kind of a little bit surprised, but I think you called it.
Yeah, I called that one because they said they were going to do their most spectacular and elaborate stage show yet. Now I'm going to go on a tangent here. I interpreted that to mean on par with the Legacy of the Beast tour or better. I was expecting Spitfires and columns and everything that we got on the Legacy of the Beast tour. What they instead meant by that is screens. And
Right.
I was a little disappointed to see the screens because they hyped up the stage set so much. I was expecting something on par with Legacy of the Beast, Flamethrower, Icarus, everything, the whole ship do for the Mariner. So when I saw that they were just doing it by screens, I thought, oh, that's kind of cheating. I mean, if they hadn't hyped it up, the screens are cool. You can go from Ice for Seventh Son of Seventh Son to a dingy backstreet for Killer. It is cool. I just wish they hadn't hyped up this stage set as their most spectacular and elaborate yet, because that would be Legacy of the Beast. And, there was no Spitfire out there. There was just screens. And I mean, that is how the modern stage set is these days. It's unfortunate. I would have appreciated a bit more physical goodies on stage.
Exactly. But, I was interpreting that I was hoping that meant physical props. We remember the Somewhere in Time tour with the hands that would inflate, and you'd have the Eddie head. And I will say this for the screens, though. There's some really cool footage of Eddie just kind of like doing this behind the band, and it looks pretty cool. And it must look really cool in person.
We'll get to that in Iron Maiden, yeah. One of the cool things with the screens is that they can fit more Easter eggs in. And in fact, if for the eagle-eyed viewers, during Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, you will see the Brave New World cloud face Eddie appear briefly.
Wow, you've studied.
All right, I've got a list of all the cool things here about each song. The Clairvoyant Eye, Brave New World, Eddie, everything.
If we have nothing else to say about that trio of songs, we have another hit, kind of like Number of the Beast was slotted in there as a hit. We have Run to the Hills, which I called because it's the Run for Your Lives tour, so I kind of figured that song was going to be in the set, and there it is. Fortunately, not saving it for the end or the encore, just kind of getting it out of the way in between some pretty cool stuff.
I know I've gone on record of saying I'm pretty sick of Run to
the
Hills. I knew they were going to play it. They have said that this is the last time they'll play some songs, so here's hoping the next tour there's not going to be Run to the Hills or Number of the Beast. Well, I just came from the song. What is the last one they did? The Future Past tour, where they didn't play any of those songs, and I was like, yes, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. I have a feeling Run to the Hills will not be one of the songs you'll never hear again, but I feel that perhaps the next track, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, this is probably the last outing for it. But we never know, but it seems likely. And how about the idea of playing that big epic, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, then you play the hit, and then you play a second big epic? Like, that's unusual. This is unprecedented in Iron Maiden history?
They've traditionally classed their tours by albums or eras, and traditionally each album/era has only, back in the historical days, only had the one epic. Going into the reunion era, stuff like No Matter of the Life and Dead had a lot of 10-minute songs, but yeah, it's unprecedented to hear Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and Seventh Son of the Seventh Son together. And I mean, what an experience. I guess there's no other way to put it. Something I'm going to talk about real briefly is Dave Murray appears to be sticking closer to his album solos than he usually does. He's known for going on legatio like tangents, basically, sometimes, just not giving much regard for how he played it on the album. But I've noticed throughout this show, he seems to be playing them a lot closer, still improvising a little bit, but they're generally a lot closer to the album solo. And I appreciate that. No disrespect to his improvisation, but I generally prefer how they're composed on the studio cut than how he does them live. So it's cool to hear them done a bit more closer.
Okay, good note. After Seventh Son, we get some more bang up classics. We get The Trooper. Hallowed is back in the set again, and finally Iron Maiden ends the main set, not unexpectedly. We might have called some of these tracks. I can't remember what we did.
I'm sure we called Iron Maiden.
Yeah, but Trooper and Hallowed, I'm good. We've heard them all before many times, but I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Trooper. We did just get it on the last tour. I would have preferred something more obscure myself, but it is what it is. I won't complain about the Trooper. The Legacy of the Beast Trooper walk-on makes a reappearance here as well, and Bruce is also donning his red coat uniform again. But instead of waving a Union Jack around, okay, so we're recording this after the two Budapest nights. They're due to play Prague in a couple of hours. So during Budapest, he waved the Hungarian flag around. Presumably, he's going to wave a Czech flag around at Prague by the time this has gone live, you'd see. So it's possible instead of waving a Union Jack, he's going to be waving whatever country he's in flag, but we won't know for sure.
That's a good prediction. We'll see what happens. It's a long tour.
Bruce sounds fantastic on Hallowed, by the way. I mean, like, it's a song that I wouldn't have been surprised if he was struggling a little, but he nailed it basically all the way through. I was surprised with how well he sounded on Hallowed. Oh yes, and Iron Maiden, of course. They're backstage, Eddie. This is something I'm torn about. They had him on the screen moving around. It was Peace of Mind, Eddie. So Gorn is the sort of like head that rises up. I mean, like, the head that rises up is a classic Iron Maiden staple. It's been there for decades. So to see it gone and replaced by a screen is a bit unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. They couldn't do some cool things with the screens.
Let's also hold off too much judgment until we get a lot more feedback from audiences that were actually there, because I have a feeling we're not getting the full impact of that on YouTube. I think in person, those screens might be more impressive. Again, we're speculating here. A lot of this is just speculation because we haven't seen the show, but everybody else is talking about it, so we are too. Moving on to the encores. I like these encores. We both knew Fear of the Dark was going to be in the set. That was never a question.
I'm thrilled to see the return of Bruce with his lantern. During my prediction, I was basically wishlisting that the lantern Bruce would return, and he did for Fear of the Dark. Janick, I'm just going to talk briefly about Janick now, because this is the one song from his era. They didn't play Afraid to Shoot Strangers, unfortunately. And that's the thing. Poor Janick. I kind of feel for Janick a bit, because the poor guy gets like no solos compared to the other guys throughout this show. He gets to do his solo on Fear of the Dark, and I'm not talking about when he doubles Adrian on the Trooper, that sort of thing, or when he's doing a guitar harmony with the guy. I mean, when he gets to stand there with the spotlight on him doing a guitar solo, just him. He gets his Fear of the Dark solo. He gets to do Dennis Stratton's small bit at the end of Phantom of the Opera, and he gets a solo in Hallowed Be the Name, but that's it. The poor guy, he's stuck on rhythm and harmony guitar most of the time. I mean, like, I know this is a very 80s dominant set list, but this is also the 50 years of Iron Maiden, and Iron Maiden are basically gone out for their 50th year, and they've done a very nostalgic 80s based set list. It's sort of like, you know, what does that say about how they view, like, I miss the reunion era. For the Greater Good of God was an amazing surprise to hear on the Legacy of the Beast tour. There's great music that they've made in the 90s, in the 2000s. And unfortunately, this set list has kind of, it's just a watered down Legacy of the Beast tour set list. They've stripped away the 90s, they've stripped away the reunion era, and they're just playing 80s. Basically, apart from Fear of the Dark, which they snuck in with their first nine albums. And I mean, I know there are a lot of people that, particularly people who grew up with that era, they're going to love that. But Iron Maiden, their touring days are numbered. They don't have that many tours before them. And every time they go back to these 80s songs that they've played over and over again, it's like, are we going to hear Dance of Death again? Are we going to hear the reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg? Are we going to hear the Wicker Man again? It's like, I know I'm coming across very negative, very complainy, but it's more comes from like, this is a missed opportunity to do something really special, as opposed to doing songs that they've, you know, like, oh, it's the 10-year since we last played Power Slave. All right, yep, we'll play Power Slave. So a lot of these deeper cuts, like Power Slave, like. But damn, I'm going a blank. But like they come around, they're in rotation every 10 years. You know, they played The Prisoner in 2014, then they played it in 2024, sort of thing. So it's not as deep a cut as something like a song that they've never played live before. And where I know I'm getting very whiny, and I'm going on and on and on. But it's just a missed opportunity, unfortunately. And as far as a sort of capturing 50 years of Iron Maiden goes, they've really just pigeonholed them to 10 years. And it's unfortunate, I think, that we could have had something that was a bit more representative of Iron Maiden as a whole. And, you know, they could have done this tour as a 5-piece. Janick could have been sitting at home with his feet up, and the only difference is Adrian would have to pick up a couple extra solos. Like, I do feel for Janick a bit. You know, I know, sorry, that was a very long tangent of negativity, but yeah.
Okay, so we need to offset that with some devil's advocate. And I'm not disagreeing with you at all, because all the songs that you mentioned, like Dance of Death and For the Greater Good of God, I love these songs. You know, we're well on record. And when we get to these albums in 50 Years of Iron Maiden, you're going to see so much praise for these deeper cuts, Passchendaele and all that stuff.
Oh, of course, Passchendaele.
Yeah. So I understand what Harrison's saying, but from me being that older generation, I am around people. I am surrounded by people who would say, this is the set that I've been waiting for. These are the songs that I know. These are the songs that I remember. These are the songs that I grew up with. This is what, seeing Iron Maiden back in the 80s, this is some of the songs that we would have heard. And that Di'Anno suite and the Power Slave suite, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy with those. I think that's really classy. I think in 2025, I think they're paying a little bit of tribute to Paul Di'Anno there. Yes, I feel they overpromised and underdelivered. Why not a mixture of screens and stage eddies? A little bit more of a balance. Why not? I don't know. Budget, maybe just Steve is the boss, right? So Steve obviously wants to do screens this time out. Steve obviously set the parameters for this tour, and he said, we're going to do 1980 to 1992. And I think he said that because we can't not play Fear the Dark. You know, we can't not play it. I think that's the attitude. Of course, they can not play Fear of the Dark, but we both know that's not going to happen. So that's the balance side of it, is that there are people in charge, namely Steve Harris. He sets the parameters. And I think within the set parameters that he decided we're going to represent Iron Maiden on this 50th year, I don't think it's a home run. I think it's maybe a solid triple. It's a solid triple, but it's not a home run. A home run would have been to include one song from No Prayer, just one. It could have been Bring Your Daughter. It could have been Tail Gunner. It could have been anything. And just one song that either had never been played live before or maybe only once or twice. I would have settled. I would have said, yeah, even a song that had only been played a handful of times would have still satisfied me. But having said that, I think Maiden have done a semi-predictable, because we did predict some, a semi-predictable set with some pretty cool surprises, such as the Di'Anno suite, the two epics, Seventh Son and Rhyme, almost back-to-back, just separated by one hit. And I do feel for Janick as well. I hadn't considered what you'd said. I don't know how he would feel about that. I imagine it's a little bit more boring for him compared to past tours, to not be in the spotlight as much, just playing rhythm. He'd be a little bit more bored, I would think. But again, we're speculating here. We're just fans. We love this band. We both want to see this.
As I said at the top of the show, I have nothing but praise for what they did on stage. I just wish they went a little further. One
step further would have been cool. But we got what we get. And I think this is going to be a very exciting year.
We should also probably address the last two tracks they played.
Yes, of course. Wasted Years, Aces High. Bruce struggles on both of these songs normally, but there they are. Glad to have them, especially Wasted Years. For me, Wasted Years as the final song, that's really cool to me.
Yeah, we couldn't really expect more from Somewhere in Time, given that they just played a whole suite of it the previous tour. I wouldn't ask for any more than the one song. I know there's a lot of people out there who've been saying switch Aces High for Tail Gunner. It would have done that No Prayer inclusion, and Bruce wouldn't have struggled as much on the song. I mean, I lament the fact that we don't have a cool Spitfire dangling over the stage, but you do get some cool visuals there. And so like you said, Simon Dawson.
Right. So like I've heard a bit You can definitely tell it's a new drummer. You can definitely tell it's not Nico, and you can definitely tell it's not Clive. It's a third sound. It's a new sound. He plays the songs very, very well. He seems to be in the pocket. He seems to be timing seems to be perfect. I'm just eager to hear more. I don't think it's fair to jump to conclusions. Some people are damning him for not being Nico McBrain, and that was never going to be the case. But I can't wait to hear more. I think sometimes changing the drummer can be a change that nobody notices, and other people like you and I, it might change our entire perception of how we feel about the music. We'll see.
Yeah, I noticed that we didn't get one of those. Oh, you're the new guy. Do a drum solo inclusions in the set, but
good.
Yeah, no. That one thing, they played 18 songs. That's a lot of songs for a modern Iron Maiden set list. Although traditionally there are usually longer songs, but they still managed to fit in two massive epics in there.
And Phantom of the Opera, two massive
yes,
epics, and Phantom,
and songs like Phantom and Hallowed, which aren't exactly short songs.
and neither is Clairvoyant, really.
Yeah, yeah. Even the traditional shorter Iron Maiden songs, about 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. So I guess to close this out, I mean, we've said it. We wish they did a little more, but what they did was great. I'm just going to say, traditionally in the past, or at least pre-COVID, Iron Maiden tours would be 2 years long, and they'd have a shake-up of the set list basically halfway through. There'd usually be a second leg set list. So I'm wondering, maybe based on the feedback that they've been getting, may we see a slightly more adventurous set list come 2026?
We'll see.
I guess we'll have to wait to find out.
It could be slightly even more predictable. We'll see. Which generation will they hear? Well, thank you for joining us for this special bonus episode of 50 Years of Iron Maiden. We'll be back again with regular album reviews and everything else very soon. So like, subscribe, and stay tuned to Grab a Stack of Rock right here on YouTube. This is Mike, and this is Harrison. Take care.